talk about 2-6 vertical and horizontal translations of absolute value functions. All right, you've learned what an absolute value function looks like. We said it looks like the V shape. The vertex is always the point at which the V meets. Okay, and in a normal absolute value, which is y equals the absolute value of x, that's your parent function, that's what you always start out with. This point right here, the vertex, is always 0, 0. Okay, so we're going to learn what do we do in different functions in order to move that vertex around. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to pause the video, I want you to grab your graphing calculator, I want you to graph each one of these functions and tell me how does it change from this graph? How is it different from the parent graph? Okay, so go ahead and pause it. All right. So hopefully you paused and you went through and you graphed these on your graphing calculator. Now you can tell me how are they different from this function. Okay. So this first one, the absolute value of x plus 1. Now you should have seen that hopefully that your graph moved up 1. So your vertex, instead of being at 0, 0, was up 1 at 0, 1. So this was up 1. Okay. On your second one, you should have hopefully seen that your parent function moved down 2. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the third one. When you did this one, you should have seen that your parent function moved to the left 1. Okay. All right. Number 4, you should have seen that this moved to the right 2. Alrighty. For number 5, you should have seen that instead of the V being in the V position, it was an upside down V. So it would have gone downwards. So we're going to call this opens down. Okay, you should have seen that the vertex did not move, it just flipped over. Alright, number 6, this 3 out front, it made your graph more narrow. And then the 0.5, or also known as 1/2, made it wider. Alright, so let's take a look at this and then we're going to make a little summary of it. If you notice, when there's a number outside the absolute value, okay, that tells us either move up or down. When there's a number inside of the absolute value, it tells you move left or right. Now, a negative tells you opens down, and then the numbers out front tell you if you're narrow or wide. A number bigger than 1 is narrow, a number smaller than 1 is wide. Alright, if you need to copy that down, take a minute, and I'm going to create a little summary that you definitely should copy down. So we've got 4 little summary points here. And then what I just went over, we're just putting them in terms of order. So, adding or subtracting numbers outside of absolute value bars. Okay, and we said what that does is it moves it up or down. Okay, there's your first one. The next one is adding or subtracting numbers inside absolute value bars. Okay, that moved left or right. That's the one that flipped it upside down. You have a negative out in front of the absolute value. Okay, and now multiplying by a number in front of the absolute value. Okay, and that was where you got wider or narrow. Okay? Alright, if you need to pause it, go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and erase it. Alright, so we talked about the general form of an absolute value. That was y equals a x minus h plus k. Okay, we already learned that hk is our vertex. And we learned that the a is the slope. Okay, so now when we come back to the next video in just a minute, you're going to take what you know about the summary that I just gave you, and we're going to start moving functions around. Okay, so open up the next video.